And we're back for our wild card round predictions here for these 12 teams playing this week with a chance to go to the divisional round on the line. Obviously, the Broncos and the Seattle Seahawks already have punched their ticket to the divisional round with that first round bye, but we've got 12 teams this week going at it again, win or go home in some massive games to kick off the 2025-2026 NFL postseason. Now, folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more NFL content here on the channel. Later in the week, we're going to have our best bets and best player props. We're going to keep both of those this week, and then going forward, we're going to combine the best player props and best bets into one singular video. But this week, we will still do 5 best bets and 5 best player props. But again, for the divisional round, we're just going to do 5 best bets in general, including both player props and best bets for money lines and spreads. Also on the channel, our daily college basketball best bets, our daily NBA best bets, and our college football predictions have already been posted for the semifinals, the Peach Bowl, and the Fiesta Bowl, Miami versus Ole Miss, and Oregon versus the Indiana Hoosiers. You're not going to want to miss that video. That is linked in the description down below. Okay, on to the first now of our 6 games this week in the wild card round. We kick things off with the Saturday afternoon game. Used to be the NRG Invitational, the Houston Texans Invitational, but we'll get to them later. We're kicking things off with the Carolina Panthers at home at Bank of America Stadium, taking on the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, somehow, some way, the Carolina Panthers have found their way into the postseason. Despite losing in Week 18 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road, they still get in the postseason because the Atlanta Falcons beat the New Orleans Saints. So here we are. Now, the Panthers have beaten the Rams before. Same exact spot in Carolina. Rams went to Charlotte and lost the game off of multiple turnovers by Matthew Stafford in that Rams offense. Final score 31-28 in favor of Carolina. They now will try to go 2-0 against the Rams and pull off one of the most unlikely upsets in postseason history. This is the biggest underdog a home team has been in the wild card round, probably ever, I assume. I know for a fact it's the wild card round, but the Panthers are the biggest underdog in playoff history at home in the wild card round. The only team that comes somewhat close to them, if I'm not mistaken, is the Washington Commanders. Washington, I think, closed as a 10-point underdog against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sorry, they were the Washington football team back then. But back in 2020 or 2021, where Tampa, obviously with Tom Brady, had to go to Washington in the first round, Tampa were 10-point favorites. The Rams are 10.5-point favorites here. I don't see it. I mean, I think the Rams pretty clearly win the game. I think the Panthers are going to keep this relatively close. Guys, the Rams keep getting in their own way. I know they beat the Cardinals last week 37-20, but if you rewatch that first game, Carolina just plays lights out, and the Panthers, they're tricky, man. I don't think they're winning the game, but they're a tough team to beat. Look at the Packers game where Carolina went to Green Bay and won. Again, there's not a bigger example of this, of Rams versus Panthers, where the Panthers straight up win the game 31-28. Now, Bryce Young needs to play well, and that's a big F, because Bryce Young against the Rams, I mean, hits Jalen Coker for a big 4th and 3 touchdown. I mean, it's a lot of 4th down, just over the top, straight up touchdowns for Carolina that ends up winning them that game against the Rams. Obviously, the one to Coker and the 4th and 2 pass to Teteroa McMillan, which ultimately wins the football game for Carolina. And on top of that, it is the multiple turnovers Carolina forces on Matthew Stafford. 2 picks off of the potential, and he's not going to be the MVP, it's going to be Drake May, but it's that ability to force turnovers out of Matthew Stafford and really just Bryce Young playing fundamental and good football that wins the football game for the Panthers. On top of that, too, they're able to run the ball. Chuba Hubbard in that game, 17 carries for 83 yards. Rico Dowdle, only 18 carries for 58 yards. But again, it's Bryce Young's play that ultimately wins them that game. That game comes down to 2 4th downs. The Jalen Coker 33-yard touchdown, the Teteroa McMillan, a 43-yard touchdown. Tet had 1 catch in that game between the Panthers and the Rams. It was the 43-yard touchdown that won it for Carolina, and ultimately as well, that interception off of Matthew Stafford in the 4th quarter at the end of the game wins it for the Panthers too. I think they keep this game close. Do I think they win it? No. I think the Rams make those strides and make those adjustments necessary to win the game. I don't know who wins the NFC in general. I think this NFC is an absolute cluster. No team stands out as the favorite. I'd argue maybe it is the Philadelphia Eagles, but I mean, it could be the Rams or it could be the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know who the favorite to win the NFC is. I think the Rams get through here, but I do think the Panthers play them so damn close tonight. I know Carolina just lost in Tampa Bay, but it's the ability as well for the Panthers to come back in games. They're dead to rights in that Bucs game, and okay, here comes another 4th quarter Bryce Young comeback. Ultimately, it comes up a little bit short by 2 points, and the Panthers didn't do it themselves again in the playoffs. Panthers went 8-9. And the only reason they're in the playoffs, right, is because it's a three-way tie for first place between them, Tampa Bay, and Atlanta that pushes Carolina on through to the postseason. I don't think that I'll say this. I think the Bucks would have had a better chance of beating the Rams in this round. Don't get me wrong, Tampa historically has always gotten beaten up by the Rams, just rather Los Angeles or St. Louis in the postseason. But I just think that Tampa team probably would have had a better chance to win the game outright. Carolina, though, has a very good chance to cover. And it's, again, all dependent on the play of Bryce Young. If Bryce Young actually shows up, I think Carolina is going to be okay, but we cannot have a game that Bryce Young had against Tampa Bay, against Seattle, where Bryce Young's got, 50 yards through three quarters? I mean, he finished with 54 the entire game. We need the Panthers to work the ball downfield. They need to get Tetero and McMillan actually involved. And I will be honest, right, the calls that went against Carolina in that almost win or home game against Tampa Bay, that was, a lot did not go in Carolina's favor. And I don't like how that same officiating crew is getting the Bills-Jaguars game. I mean, really? That was one of the poorest officiated games I've ever watched. And they're going to get the Jags-Bills game, which is probably the biggest game of this week, other than maybe Bears-Packers? Really? Anyways, they just need Bryce Young to show up. Just need Bryce Young to actually show up and play. For the Rams, I mean, this is a team that has not impressed me recently. They're kind of hobbling into this postseason. They've lost 2 of 3, with obviously winning their last game against the Arizona Cardinals. Good win, but it's the Cardinals. It's at home. You're expected to do that. Prior to that, back-to-back road L's for Los Angeles. They have dropped 3 out of their last 4 road games. Losing to Carolina, 31-28, going to Arizona and winning. Again, it's the Cardinals. Going to Seattle and losing in that overtime game, the 2-point conversion that wins it for Sam Darnold and those guys, and then losing in Atlanta on Monday night, uncharacteristically, honestly, out of Los Angeles. They were supposed to win that game. They were big favorites to win that game, and they lose it outright. So this is a team that has struggled on the road so far this season, and especially long trips. Seattle, not the furthest trip, but Carolina, Atlanta, going down to the south. This is not just a 2-hour flight for the Rams. They're going cross-country to play this football game. And I'll tell you this, I know the Panthers fans are going to get excited for this game. This is the first playoff game in Carolina since, the year after they lost the Super Bowl, the year they went 8-9? I mean, I could be wrong on that, but I believe this is the first Panthers playoff game since, they went 7-9 or 8-8. It was one year where Cam, I think it was Cam's. It wasn't Cam's last year, but I need to get the exact date. Yeah, 2017, where they were, they did go on the road in 2017. I'm thinking of, 2014 was before, the 8-7 year, or the 7-9 year was before 2015. This is the first home playoff game in Carolina since January 24th, 2016, where they beat the Cardinals in the NFC Championship game. I kind of thought that, I don't know why I scrambled that. I thought the year that the year they went 8-9, they beat the Cardinals too, yeah. But that was the year prior to the 15 run to the Super Bowl, obviously. Okay, regardless, because 2014 is the year where Cam obviously had that moment where he's staring down the tunnel where they lost to the Seahawks. Anyways, first home playoff game in Carolina in basically 9 years, almost 10 years. These fans are going to show up. Last time they were in a spot like this, they were in the NFC Championship game, winning and decimating the Arizona Cardinals. This fan base is going to show up. The Panthers, will they show up? Defensively, yeah. They need to establish that run early. I just think, that Tampa game, I'm not too discouraged by it if I'm Carolina. Carolina's always been the Bucs have always been a really tough matchup for the Panthers. Just because of what the Bucs do, they stuff the run fairly well. If they force Bryce Young to show up and beat them over the top, and sure, when Young does hit those passes and when Bryce Young is playing with confidence, the biggest example is that Rams game, he can in fact be very dangerous. But Tampa challenged Bryce Young, weird environment, muggy game, rain game, and obviously the Panthers didn't win, and that's okay. They're back at home. Rams have not played well on the road this season, and I do want to say, I don't think Matthew Stafford has been that great. Okay, I can't say Stafford has been that great. I think Stafford in big games right now is not playing the best. I know Stafford statistically is having a phenomenal year, 4,700 yards, 46 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions, and he's going to do all of that and likely not win the Most Valuable Player award. And yes, I would vote for Drake May if I had a vote for the MVP. Currently the odds, Stafford's the favorite again. Why? Because they beat the Cardinals? They're going to give the MVP to Matthew Stafford over Drake May. Stafford minus 175, Drake May plus 140. I mean, I guess it is kind of hard to deny Stafford because of these stats, but I don't know. I feel like that should kind of go to Drake May, regardless of all of that. Stafford has played great football. In big games, though, has Stafford been great? Not really. Seahawks game, he was good through 450 yards. We can't forget that late in the fourth quarter, they should have won that game if Stafford doesn't dirt 3 footballs in a row. Falcons game, Stafford was awful, and that was their last game on the road. I don't know, man. I'm getting a feeling with the Panthers. I don't think they win. I just think this game's a lot closer than people expect it to be. And right, the Rams can win by a touchdown and a field goal, and we still cover. It's a playoff game. That's too many points in my opinion. I'm going to go Carolina at home to cover 10.5 points. Rams likely win. I think the Rams can still make a very deep run, and I'm saying yes. Like I still expect them to make a run, honestly. I just think this game, the line's just way too far out. Give me Carolina plus 10.5 at home at Bank of America Stadium against the Los Angeles Rams. On to our second game of the week. Let's go to Soldier Field for the NFC North showdown between the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. Why are the Bears underdogs? I don't know. I know it took a miraculous comeback for them to beat Green Bay the last time. Are we forgetting the Packers are nowhere near 100%? And yes, they're getting a lot of guys back this week. I understand that because they didn't play a single starter last week in Minnesota against the Vikings. Guys, Jordan Love hasn't played a snap of football since that second Bears game. I mean, it's going to be 4 weeks basically since Jordan Love has played. Or really 4.5 weeks since he's played a full game. The last full game Jordan Love played was against the Broncos. And you expect me to believe the Packers are going to win this game? They've lost 4 consecutive games. They have not won since that first Bears game over at Lambeau Field. And I'm supposed to expect them to go to Chicago, break a 4-game losing streak, and beat the Bears. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Now, honestly, the better thing that could have happened for the NFL would have been the Eagles are in the 2 and the Bears in the 3. And if the Eagles played their starters, that's exactly what they would have gotten. We would have gotten Eagles versus Packers and Bears versus 49ers. I think that would have been a lot better for the league. But actually, no, it wouldn't have been. It would have been better I think I would have enjoyed it more. But obviously, the league wants Bears-Packers. Obviously, one of the oldest rivalries in the sport. I mean, that rivals Ravens-Steelers for all-time rivalries. Anyways, I just think it's such a tough game for Green Bay. Jordan Love hasn't played a full game in over a month. You're very banged up. Josh Jacobs has not been 100% really since, before the bye week. This defense is still packed with injuries. And I understand, again, yes, Jordan Love being back makes a whole difference. But we're not forgetting Tucker Kraft still out for the season, obviously. Micah Parsons out for the year. There's just so many injuries that keep on adding up for Green Bay. And I'm looking at the Bears, and I know they struggled last week against the Lions. I'll say this. That's what the Lions were supposed to be this season. And ultimately, that entire Detroit season now actually did come down to that Steelers game. If the Lions had beaten the Steelers, and if they didn't get screwed at the end of that game, the Lions would have actually been in. And this would have been Detroit versus Chicago this week. I know that sounds crazy because the Lions play like such crap at the end of the season. But if you turn around one of those Lions games all year long, yeah, they would have been in. They finished 9-8, and they finished the year beating a Chicago team that was still trying to win. Anyways, I know, again, people are not excited about that Bears loss against Detroit. I should have saw it coming, honestly. I mean, Dan Campbell against Ben Johnson, I feel like that's going to be a thing going forward where it's going to be a little bit of ownage. I think Dan Campbell is going to continue to beat the Bears for years to come. Ben Johnson came up there, obviously. I mean, Ben Johnson took, multiple coaches over to Chicago, multiple offensive coaches held like Antoine Randall, right, former Indiana Hoosiers quarterback. But I don't know. I feel like that's going to be a thing going forward where the Lions continue to beat the Bears. Anyways, I'm willing to say that because I just think it's a bad matchup for Chicago. We saw Chicago go 0-2 against Detroit all year long, and again, cardiac Bears, they're down 16-0 with 8 minutes to go. They find a way to tie the game. Ultimately, though, Jake Bates hits a game-winning field goal. Jared Goff leads the Lions downfield, and Detroit wins the game. Okay, it is what it is. Chicago still put together a phenomenal year. The Eagles lose, so the Bears are now 11-6 with the number 2 seed in the NFC. Doesn't feel like a great record for the 2 seed. Hell, remember the days where there were buys for the 2 seed? I mean, they probably should go back to that, but it's okay. If there were still buys, the 11-6 Bears would have a first-round bye in the postseason, which it sounds crazy now, honestly. But I will say this Bears year has been nothing short of remarkable. They've put together an 11-win team. The offense continues to fight back into games. Defensively, they're all right. No, they're solid defensively. But Caleb Williams, depending on the game, can have monster nights. Now, Caleb Williams fell short of becoming the first ever Chicago Bears 4,000-yard passer. That sounds like a joke, but it's legit. Caleb Williams this season, though, with 3,950 yards, the highest passing season out of a Chicago Bears quarterback ever. They are coming off back-to-back L's to San Francisco on the road, Detroit at home. I'm just looking at that last Packers game. I know, again, the Bears needed a miraculous comeback. It's one of the more miraculous finishes you're going to see. One, Jordan Love gets injured early in that game. It's pretty clear Josh Jacobs is not 100%, so they go to a lot of Emmanuel Wilson. The Bears are down again, cardiac Bears. They're down 16-6 with 2 minutes to go. They kick a field goal. They then get an onside kick. And obviously in overtime, Malik Willis fumbles. Bears work the ball downfield, and Caleb Williams with almost a perfect ball to DJ Moore in the end zone. Touchdown, Bears victory for the Bears. Yes, that is as miraculous as it gets. I completely understand that. I think they can win this game, though. They're at home. And Green Bay has not looked like the same team. And I understand it was a miraculous comeback, but you're coming off 4 straight L's. And yeah, Jordan Love only played in 2 of them, but still, you're coming off 4 straight losses. It's hard to completely turn things around in the postseason where, okay, we've lost 4 in a row, but now, okay, we got to win 4. Now we lost 4 in a row, but now we got to win 4 in a row to get to our ultimate goal and win a Super Bowl. It's hard to turn that around. I've seen so many teams in the past that have had crazy hot starts, and they limp into the postseason, they barely get in, and they fall flat on their face. Nothing against the Arizona Cardinals, but I'm going to use the Cardinals for 2 examples right here. It's the 2 that come to mind perfectly with this. Teams that and I'll give you another one too. I'll give you the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know they didn't make the playoffs, but we'll go over 3 examples. Arizona Cardinals, oh goodness, what was the year? 2013, I believe, 2013 Arizona Cardinals. I could be wrong on that one. It was the year Carson Palmer got hurt. But the Cardinals that season started off very hot. They, I think, started the year, I think they were like 9-1 at one point. And Carson Palmer got injured. It was that year they were talking about the Panthers. So yeah, it was 2013 or 14? 2013. I think it was 2013. No, 2014. Okay, yeah, it was the same year we were talking about with the Panthers' second to last playoff home game or season. Anyways, Cardinals start the year. They finished 11-5. They started the season, what was it? 9-1. They hobbled into the playoffs at 11-5. Carson Palmer got injured. Drew Stanton then came in and played quarterback. He got injured, and then they had to play Ryan Lindsay in the postseason, and obviously they got blown out by the Panthers. They got blown out in the first round by the Panthers. I'll use another Cardinals example. What was it, 2021, the Kyler Murray year, where they started 7-0, 8-0 before they lost to the Packers on Thursday Night Football? They were undefeated to start the season. They were the hottest team in football. They were 10-2 at one point, 7-0 at one point. They finished the year 11-6. They went into the first round of the postseason, played the first ever Monday night postseason game, lost to the Los Angeles Rams. And then I'll use the Jaguars. It was, 22, I think it was. The year they lost in that winner-go-home game right before the postseason. But they started the year like 7-1, finished, I think, 8-9, something like that. Teams who closed the year coming off a bunch of losses very rarely just randomly turn things around in the postseason and start winning. That's what I'll say. And injuries or not, I mean, I use the Cardinals example. The Cardinals, I know Palmer got injured in 14, and then, they had to go to Ryan Lindsay in the postseason, but there were a bunch of injuries on that defense. They got healthy for that wildcard game, but your guy's been off for 4 weeks. They're not, in the swing of things, and you haven't won a game in all that long. You're not likely going to go on the road and win a playoff game. Here's the example of the Green Bay Packers. I don't think they can go on the road and win a playoff game. You haven't won in a month. Your players are injured. There is discussion, is Malik Willis better than Jordan Love? I don't know. Malik Willis definitely needs to be a starting quarterback somewhere in the NFL next season. There are spots for him to play. Arizona, Pittsburgh, Miami, New Orleans is Shucks team. There are places, though, for Malik Willis to start next season. He should definitely get a starting role somewhere, but Jordan Love is going to start. Jordan Love was active, actually, for that Vikings game. I think he was the emergency third-string quarterback because, obviously, Malik Willis was injured. Clayton Tune got the start, and they signed Desmond Ridder, the former Cincinnati Bearcat, to be the backup quarterback. But Jordan Love was active. He was the emergency third quarterback for that game. I'm taking the Packers to lose. I'm taking Chicago here. I'm taking Caleb Williams. I think this offense is going to show up. I think it's not going to take them, 3 quarters to get ready and to get scoring. I think they're going to come out hot. Ben Johnson looking for some revenge personally in the postseason after they laid an egg. That's a weird way of putting it. After the egg they laid last year did the Lions in the first round, or their first round against the Washington Commanders. I think the Bears will come out hot. I think the Bears will play solid enough football, and I do believe they will beat Green Bay at home at Soldier Field. So I think it is kind of crazy that they're underdogs. But again, a major factor Packers are hurt. I know some guys are coming back, but ultimately, still no Tucker Kraft, obviously out for the season. Michael Parsons out for the year. We'll see what status Josh Jacobs is in, but it's hard to turn things, magically around after you've lost so many games in a row. So I'm going to go Chicago Bears to win, -105. It is crazy to me that they are dogs. Bears get the win at home at Soldier Field. Next up, we move on to the Sunday games, and we kick things off on Sunday with, in my opinion, the biggest game of the week. The Buffalo Bills go on the road to Duval County, Jacksonville, Florida, to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. In my opinion, the winner of this game is going to win the AFC. With all due respect to the other teams in the bracket, I think the Broncos are going to be difficult to go to Denver and win against, but I do believe the winner of this game is going to win the entire thing. Here's the point I'm going to make on Jacksonville real quick. If this team was not the Jacksonville Jaguars, and this is going to sound crazy, but bear with me here. If they were not the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they didn't wear these jerseys, and they didn't have the reputation of just being the Jaguars, everyone, and I mean everyone, would be picking this team to win the Super Bowl. That's my opinion, okay? If they weren't just Jacksonville, and this was a team that, say they were put in Baltimore Ravens uniforms, and they played in Baltimore, Maryland, and they were called the Ravens, everyone would be picking this team to win the entire thing, and they would be probably one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl too, just in terms of Vegas betting odds. It's just because they're Jacksonville, nobody believes. This is the hottest team in the NFL. I'd argue this might be the best team in the NFL, and they are one of the best coach teams in the National Football League. The general public and the national media will not cover on a nightly basis what Trevor Lawrence is doing. Trevor Lawrence, I'd argue, should be an MVP candidate. Well, no, he's an MVP candidate. I would argue he should win the MVP. He's not going to, but 4,000 yards, 29 touchdowns, a lot of rushing touchdowns in there as well, but 29 passing touchdowns. That's a remarkable season for Trevor Lawrence, and this stretch he is on in the final 5 games, he has been unstoppable for Jacksonville. And now, I believe you get the 2 best teams in the AFC playing each other in the very first round. And that's okay. I think this is where the Bills' season ends. And I know a lot is being made of the fact that this is the Bills' year. This has to be Josh Allen's year. I've never seen more faith in a 6 seed ever. I mean, you would think, usually when people get behind a wild card team, it's usually the 5 seed. Because, okay, they were just the best, non-division winner. They played well in the regular season, obviously not well enough to win their division outright. But that's the team. Like, hell, Buccaneers in 2020. Even though I think, not many people were too high on the Bucs winning the Super Bowl that year. I was, but that's neither here or there. They're a 6 seed. They weren't even the top wild card in the AFC. The Bills lost 5 games this season, which I understand is a better record than the 2 seed in the NFC. I get that. But are we really putting that much faith into Buffalo winning the Super Bowl and winning the AFC when I don't even think they get past the first round? I don't think they do. I think Jacksonville's going to beat them right now. I absolutely believe so. I just got a notification, by the way. John Harbaugh got fired from the Ravens. I know, obviously, by the time you're watching this video, you've already seen that. That's kind of crazy, is it not? I mean, really? The Ravens decided John Harbaugh was their problem? Sorry, I just saw that. I'm reacting to this live. Really? That's odd. If I'm Tampa, I'm calling for John Harbaugh immediately. Todd Bowles, you're gone. Anyways, back on the Bills. Do we really believe this team's going to the Super Bowl? I don't think so. I don't think they're getting out of the first round. I know they won in New England. They won in Pittsburgh. I understand that. They didn't win in Houston. And why am I comping Houston and Jacksonville? Jacksonville's got a tremendous defense. Are they on the level of the Texans? No, they're not. The Texans defense is, absurd. And we're going to get to that at the end of the video, obviously on Monday night. But Jacksonville's got such an underrated defense. They are the second best run defense in the National Football League, only behind, if I'm not mistaken, the Seattle Seahawks. Their secondary is very solid too, and that's not even the best part of this team. Obviously, it's what they do offensively. And the fact that Trevor Lawrence, I've been saying it all year long, but Trevor Lawrence has been fully unleashed and fully unlocked in Jacksonville this season with that receiving core and with Liam Cohen. I had always said too, if Trevor Lawrence can't figure it out with this team, if he's not, going to be the guy with this roster and with this coach, I don't know if it's ever going to work for Trevor Lawrence. And thankfully, he has worked. Yeah, it has worked with this team, and I always thought it would because I've always seen the talent with Trevor Lawrence. I just thought, well, he plays in Jacksonville. The options are not great. The coaching has never been great, in my opinion. In Jacksonville with him, whatever. Urban Meyer. No, that was obviously very brief tenure. But anyways, right. I love the Liam Cohen pick. And if he can't figure it out with Brian Thomas, Jacoby Myers, Travis Etienne, and Travis Hunter, obviously Myers wasn't there to start the season, but if you can't figure it out with this receiving core and these weapons, I don't know if he ever can. And 100%, he has figured it out. This is such a difficult team to beat. And the game's in Jacksonville, too. Where the Bills get such their edge in the postseason sometimes is, well, you have to go up to the frozen, no, it's not the frozen tundra, that's Green Bay, but you got to go up to Buffalo, you got to play them at their environment, and nobody wants to go to Buffalo, New York, or Orchard Park, New York, and play at Highmark. They got to go to Jacksonville here. They got to go to, I assume, is going to be somewhat of a sunny day in Jacksonville, Florida. I will get the weather forecast right now. Obviously, it's not going to be that, crazy. It's going to be 60 degrees and humid. That sounds like Florida to me. Jacksonville weather, I don't really think it affects the Bills that much, but if anything, it puts the game on a even playing field. And the Jaguars are just a better team than the Buffalo Bills. I've watched the Bills disappoint so many times this year. I understand they won 12 games. And here's my thing, though. The Patriots game, great comeback. If you go down 21-0 against Jacksonville, you're not coming back. Not at all. They were close in Cleveland against the Browns. They play Philly at home. Get shut out for all but 7 minutes in that game, come back in the final 7 minutes, should have kicked that extra point to send the game into overtime. McDermott doesn't. I think McDermott still is on the hot seat. If they don't win this game, they lose to Philadelphia. Obviously, they blow out the New York Jets with their backups and Mitchell Trubisky. That's expected. But now you walk into Jacksonville against, my opinion, the best team in the AFC. And so much of what the Bills have done this season, yes, Josh Allen's phenomenal. Yes, Josh Allen, I believe, is the best quarterback in the National Football League. I think if I have a third down, I have a fourth down, I want the ball in Josh Allen's hands, despite the miss on the 2-point conversion against Philadelphia. I still would want Josh Allen over every single quarterback in this league. A lot of what they do is built on the run. Regardless if that's Josh Allen or if that's James Cook. So much of what Buffalo does is set up on the ground. James Cook obviously won the rushing title this season with only 1,600 yards, but that's what happens when you, of course, make a touchback the 35-yard line or a kick out of bounds the 40-yard line. Don't get me started, it's so stupid. But James Cook leads the NFL in rushing. Josh Allen has a phenomenal year running the football as well. Josh Allen had more touchdowns than James Cook did on the ground. Allen combined for 39 total touchdowns this season. It's just what he does. That's against but now you're playing one of the best run defenses in the NFL. A better run defense than Houston. A Houston team where Buffalo all around struggled. I know James Cook didn't struggle that much, but they struggled to get going offensively. Obviously, Houston's more, built on their secondary, but this is such a tough game for the Bills, guys. A Bills team that is just, I don't think as good as Jacksonville is. Don't get me wrong, if the Bills win this game, I think they win the Super Bowl. I think they go to the Super Bowl. I don't know if they win it. But if the Bills win this game, I expect them likely to, we'll see what their road game is. This is not, it might be a spoiler. I'm not going to hold on to see who they have to go on the road. They'd have to go on the road against either the winner of Pittsburgh, Houston, or the Patriots, because if the Chargers win, they go to Pittsburgh, Houston, right? Regardless of all that, I think the Jaguars win. I think the offense is too good. I think Trevor Lawrence has played too well, and I really am a huge believer in what Liam Cohen's doing, man. I watch the Jaguars every week. They're doing this, by the way, without the number 2 overall pick in the draft, Travis Hunter, who they expected to be a starter, or at least a playmaker on both sides of the football, receiver and defensive back. There's been no Travis Hunter since very early on in the year, and that's what's allowed them to go out and get Jacoby Myers and let Jacoby Myers obviously get to play on a winning football team for the first time in a very long time since his rookie season in New England. But actually, they made the playoffs once. But you know what I mean, right? A lot of this is Trevor Lawrence, and what is so undervalued with Jacksonville too is what they do defensively. And let's not forget too, this team's won 8 straight games going into the playoffs. Chargers, Cardinals, Titans, Colts, Jets, Broncos, Colts, Titans. They won 8 straight games. What has Trevor Lawrence done in most of those games except for one? He's thrown for over 200 yards. That is a difference maker when Lawrence is playing great football. I mean, I'll say that throw that he makes off his back, it's a 5-yard throw he makes last week against Tennessee, but off the back foot, falling back, hitting his tight end on a just straight flat route. I mean, I'm telling you, Trevor Lawrence is playing with confidence. He's playing the best football I've seen him play, honestly and truthfully, since he was at Clemson playing for Dabo Swinney. That's the difference Liam Cohen has made with this offense. And for the Bills, if the Jags can stuff this ground game, which I firmly believe they will do, you force Josh Allen to drop back and throw. He's a great passer of the football, but the problem I've had with Buffalo so many times this year is I know Josh Allen's a talent. I know how great he is. Who's he throwing the ball to? Khalil Shakir, Brandon Cooks is his number 2 option, Joshua Palmer, Gabe Davis caught his first touchdown of the season last year from the MVP, the Nickelodeon valuable player in Mitchell Trubisky. Keon Coleman barely plays. Sure, the tight ends are a factor in both Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, but I'm really supposed to believe this team can beat that Jacksonville secondary? If they can stop that run, you force Josh Allen to drop back all game long. It's not a Josh Allen problem because we know the talent he is, at least throwing-wise. It's a receiving core problem. And sure, Allen has benefited greatly from the run game and from James Cook all year long, but I think that secondary from Jacksonville is going to win them the game, and offensively, they're just so damn good too. And we know the struggles the Bills have had on the defensive side of the ball all year long. Jacksonville wins the game outright. This is a travesty. They're at plus money or close to plus money at minus 105. Jags win. I'm so confident in it. Moving on to our next game as we go now to the midday game on Sunday. The Philadelphia Eagles take on the San Francisco 49ers. So I'll be fully transparent with you. For about a month, I was saying the Niners were going to win the NFC and they were going to host the Super Bowl in Santa Clara and likely take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm out now. I have to be. And I was out after they lost. I was out after they lost to the Seahawks. I was completely in on it after they beat the Colts, after they beat the Bears, and obviously I have not talked to you about it since that Seahawks game. Well, obviously I'm out, okay? I thought they were going to beat Seattle. That offense looked unstoppable in back-to-back weeks, and maybe it's just the Bears' defense isn't that good. We know the Colts' defense isn't very good. That Seahawks game was as horrible as it gets, and I understand. Seattle's the best team in the NFL. They have the best odds to win the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, guys. I still don't buy it. Is that crazy? I still don't buy Seattle winning the entire thing. I'll tell you this. There is a scenario. Actually, we've already gone over all the NFC games, so I can say it now. I'm taking the Eagles to beat the Niners. So basically, my matchups next round are going to be Rams versus Seahawks, Bears versus Eagles. I think the Rams go to Seattle and win. I know. I just said the Panthers are going to cover against Los Angeles. I think the Rams, with the Seahawks coming off a bye, I think they go in there and win. I don't think the Seahawks get them twice in a row in Seattle. So I'm just going to put that out there now, right? I don't believe in the Seahawks. Something about Sam Darnold in the playoffs. I know he won a big game last week against the Niners, and all power to him for doing so. Credit to Sam Darnold for winning that football game in San Francisco on Saturday night on ESPN. Still don't buy it. I still don't buy it. I'm not going to be fooled right now by the Seattle Seahawks yet. Until I see the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be fooled. Now, if they beat the Rams, if they win a playoff game, I'll be convinced, okay? And if they get to the NFC Championship game, and as long as they're not playing the Eagles in the NFC Championship game, I'll buy in. But that's neither here or there. We'll wait for that. Philly's going to beat the hell out of the Niners this week, guys. Absolutely. I don't know if this game's going to be close. Because here's the thing about this. I know the Seahawks defense is great. It might be the best defense in the NFL. I mean, it's right up there with Denver, Jacksonville, and Philly. And Houston, by the way. I forgot about Houston. This is going to be such a difficult game for the 49ers. The Niners need to go to Philadelphia and try to score on this defense against a Philly team that's going to wear them out on the ground and a Philadelphia team that has started to look a lot better. We can throw out last week's game, obviously, with Philly. They don't try to beat the Commanders. Tanner McKee, the former Stanford Cardinal quarterback, almost got it done. They ultimately lose to Washington. Josh Johnson, the 38-year-old, has obviously bought himself 3 more years in the league. He's going to be a backup somewhere next season, just off this one game, so good on Johnson. But a disappointing out for Philadelphia. Sirianni, I guess, just did not care about the 2 seed. And if I'm the Eagles, I'm not concerned about this game. The game I'm concerned about now is, okay, we got to go to Chicago next round. If you beat Washington, you get a second home game. And no matter what, if you're the 2 seed, like the Bears, they win this week, no matter what, they're getting another home game. It's the benefit of being the number 2 seed. Philly needs Chicago to lose to get a home game next week, and there could be a difference, I think. I mean, honestly, Eagles going to Chicago, I'm less likely to pick Philadelphia and Chicago. If the Bears had to go to Philly, I'd 100% take the Eagles. Now with Philly going to Soldier Field potentially next week, I'm iffy on that. But anyways, Eagles lose the game to Washington, and now here we are. But again, we can throw that game out in terms of this individual game with the 49ers. Philly, prior to that, 3 straight wins, and that's really when their season turned around. Losing that overtime game where the Chargers picked off Hurts to win it. Hurts had like 5 turnovers, whatever. The Eagles have now won 3 straight games, albeit against the Raiders and the Commanders, and then the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, offensively, they're not very good. Jalen Hurts does not complete a pass in the second half. Goes 0 for 8 passing in the second half against Buffalo. They don't even they have 1 first down in the entire second half. They still win. And I know their defense showed a little bit of cracks late in that football game, but ultimately, the Eagles win the football game. here we go. Now they're going the Niners are going to Philly and playing them now. Playing them in the wild card round. I don't think San Francisco can go there and win. I know the last time they went to Philly was 2 seasons ago in 2023, and the Niners blew them out as 42-19. That was obviously the year where the 49ers ended up going to the Super Bowl and almost winning, but ultimately falling to the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's not forget what happened in the NFC Championship game, though. 2 years ago, Philly beat them 31-7. I know Brock Purdy got hurt. I understand. It was leaning Philly's way prior to the Brock injury. I know, again, it was still a contest when Brock Purdy went down, but it was looking like the Eagles were probably going to win. Again, it was very early in the game, whatever. It's just Philly has had San Francisco's number, I think. It's one game. It's the NFC Championship game. But I just don't see this 49ers team from California going all the way to Philadelphia and winning. And the way that they laid an egg against the Seahawks, nope, I don't buy it. That Philly defense is too good. It's too good. Josh Allen's phenomenal. And Josh Allen did not score until the last eight-ish minutes of that football game. And yeah, offensively, it's a problem with Philly. But if they can get Saquon going, danger. And if they just kind of unleash Jalen Hurts a little bit, and maybe having big leads for Philly is the worst thing that can happen to them. Because they get super comfortable with the big lead. They don't run what they normally run. They just go run up the middle, third down, obviously deep ball A.J. Brown. It's the same formula over and over and over again for Philadelphia. I get it. If they just play the same way that they do from the first minute to the 60th minute, they should win. Run the ball. Obviously, don't run the ball up the middle. Run the ball to the outside a little bit. Get Jalen Hurts moving with the football. Let Jalen Hurts roll out and throw the football as well. Throw ahead of the sticks as well. I think the Eagles are going to be in a really good spot to win this game. I don't think the game's close. It's in Philadelphia, man. It's a California team going to Philly, and it is important. Let's look at the Philadelphia weather this week. On Sunday, how cold will it be? Okay, the Niners will miss the rain on Saturday, but Sunday for kickoff, 44 degrees in Philadelphia. Not the coldest, but cold enough. That's going to make a difference. I watched San Francisco versus Seattle, and I know the Seahawks or the Niners almost had their comeback. Almost did, man. I mean, you're down by 10. Purdy's driving him down the field. You're at the 5-yard line. McCaffrey drops a pass that ultimately gets intercepted. Could have got them right back in the game, made it a three-point game. I understand. Drake Thomas ends up picking it off of the deflection, obviously, from McCaffrey. But you can't win a football game if you score 3 points, and you can't win a football game if you are completely held scoreless held to just 3 points the entire game. There was no sense of offense for the 49ers. They look like a shell of themselves, and I know what you can say. They're injured. I get it. There's massive injuries in that game. Ricky Pearsall did not play. Trent Williams did not play. We can expect both Williams and Pearsall to likely play this week. The other injuries, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Fred Warner potentially returning. He, had what was looked to be as a season-ending ankle injury early in the season. In October, he's been trying to get back. He probably will not be back till the Super Bowl is my guess, but we shall see. Williams and Pearsall were the two big misses from San Francisco on that Saturday night game. It looks like both of them should be playing. I would be shocked if they didn't. No D. Winters, by the way. Winters got injured in that game against Seattle. Winters is out, at least for the first round. I don't know, man. I don't know. I got to go Philadelphia. If San Francisco was going to Carolina, I'd take them. If they were going to Chicago, I'd probably take them. If they were at home this round, I'd take them. This is the one game I don't like, and I got to say this too. Philly's the one team you don't want to run into in the NFC right now. Because you know what they're capable of. You know they can go on runs. They won the Super Bowl last year. There is experience on this Philly team, and this defense has locked in, man. It's so hard to score against this Philly D. It's the pressure they get up front. It's that run defense. We know the Niners have struggled to run the ball all year long with Christian McCaffrey. Same thing's going to happen this week against the Eagles. They're not going to be able to run the ball. It's going to be a lot on Brock Purdy. And I know Purdy played phenomenally well against Chicago. Philly's secondary, though, oh, man. It's just this defense is, I don't want to say it's perfect, but it's pretty solid, man. The linebacker core, I mean, Zach Bond is one of the best linebackers in football somehow. Just randomly out the blue, he became that. You know the corners that in the secondary this Eagles team has. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, Adoree Jackson. It is a tough secondary to beat. Keely Ringo is going viral for the lack of awareness he showed in that Josh Johnson rushing touchdown to take the lead for Washington at the end of the game. But that's neither here or there. That secondary is so difficult to beat. We'll see again injury-wise for Philadelphia. We'll see about Dallas Goedert. We'll see about Jalen Carter, Nakobe Dean, Lane Johnson, Jalen Phillips. I believe all 5 of those guys are going to play. They're all questionable as of now. I think they're all going to actually play when it gets down to Sunday. I'm taking the Eagles. I think this has the makings of being probably the biggest margin of loss in the postseason, or right now in this round at least. I think Philly completely dominates the 49ers. I think Saquon Barkley gets going very early on the ground, and I think the Niners are going to struggle up in the cold, especially an injured Niners team too, and a team that's coming off of negative momentum. You could have been the number 1 seed. You could have had a bye, and now this. You're taking on the worst matchup in the postseason for you? Nah. Give me Philadelphia. I'm taking the Eagles, and I don't think it's all that close. Philly wins it. Philly covers. This is the team nobody wants to see in the NFC right now because of the experience, because of the defense, and because I believe this offense is going to turn it up in the postseason. Philadelphia wins. Philadelphia covers 4.5. On to our next game, Sunday Night Football, Foxborough, Massachusetts. Patriots versus Chargers. It is the first home playoff game for New England since they lost to the Tennessee Titans to end the Brady Belichick era. It is the first matchup that the Chargers have had in New England, I believe, since their loss in the They've definitely played in New England since. The first playoff matchup, I know for a fact, first playoff matchup in New England since they lost there in 2018. Obviously, the Phillip Rivers team that was dominant that year, that fell 1 game short of winning the division. They went to New England and lost and got blown out in 2018 in the divisional round, back when everyone thought the Patriots were, done that year. That's the classic interview where Brady after the game said, well, everyone thinks we suck, so it'll be fun next week going to KC. Anyways, Chargers-Patriots, there is something behind this game, right? The Chargers, I forgot, the Chargers last year went to New England and won 40-7, and then in 23 they won that crappy game in December 6-0. The Chargers have momentum against the Patriots. I understand the Patriots teams of old, the in-between, it's going to sound crazy, the in-between Brady and May Patriots teams were not that good, or at least this version of Drake and May. But here we go. Chargers going to New England, coming off back-to-back wins at Gillette Stadium. An ugly game in 23 and then a blowout in 24. I'll say this though. Both of the times the Chargers have gone to New England in each of the last 2 years. Both of them, they have won ugly football games. Completely ugly football games. Well, the second wasn't ugly. Cold December football game is probably a better way of putting that. And the Chargers have never traveled well. Recently, though, they have traveled well to New England. So I think that is meaningful. I think it's meaningful in a sense. I'm taking the Chargers to cover. This is a very, thin margin of error here. I'm taking the Chargers to cover, but the Patriots to win. However, I would not bet at all the Patriots to win the game. I am 50-50 on the winner of this game. I will ever so slightly, if I had to pick, and if the money line was even on either side, I would take Patriots to win the game outright. If it was minus 110 for Chargers, minus 110 for New England, I would take the Patriots. Obviously, it's not as such. The Patriots are minus 195 favorites, and with that being the case, I am taking the Chargers to cover 3.5 points. I think this one's going to be decided by a field goal on either side. This is one that's going to go right down to the wire. The Chargers are going to be competitive this week. Why? They had a bye week last week. A much-needed bye week. I'm telling you, that is a massive factor in this game. Justin Herbert has gotten beaten up in the pocket all year long. It's the worst offensive line in the National Football League. Honestly, probably only behind Joe Burrow's Cincinnati Bengals. It is an awful offensive line that Herbert's had to deal with all year long. Getting him that week off in Denver, even though that win could have benefited the Chargers, they could have been the 6th seed and they would have had to gone to Denver again. They decide, okay, no, that's a Trey Lance game. Obviously, they lose it. Now here you go. The Chargers go to New England, and if I was Jim Harbaugh, and I think it's the right decision. Well, hell, his brother just got fired, obviously, like we learned earlier in the video. But if I'm Jim Harbaugh, this is the matchup I want. 100%. You're taking on a Patriots team that has 0 playoff experience, for the most part. I know, Stephon Diggs, obviously, been in the postseason before. But you're taking on Drake May, who was great, who maybe wins the MVP. It looks like it's probably going to be Stafford again, which I think is ridiculous. Drake May was minus 450 after Stafford's piss-poor performance on Monday night against the Falcons. But that's neither here or there. If I'm Jim Harbaugh and I'm the Los Angeles Chargers, this is exactly the game I want. Instead of going to Jacksonville, it's the hottest team in the sport. Instead of going Pittsburgh, I think I'd rather go to Pittsburgh, but whatever. I would want this game against the 14-3 Patriots. The Patriots are great. They were a great regular season team. Who have they beaten all year long? Look at their entire schedule the entire year. How many playoff teams have the Patriots beaten this season? It's 2. You have 14 wins and 2 of them are playoff teams. Buffalo on the road and Carolina. Does that really count? No. Against playoff teams this season, the New England Patriots are 2-2. Wins over Buffalo and Carolina, losses to Pittsburgh and Buffalo. That's meaningful. That is very meaningful. They're a great team. Drake May has played phenomenal football. I am not denying that. It's different once you get in the playoffs. And in all fairness, Justin Herbert's never won in the playoffs. Justin Herbert's, 0-2 in the postseason? Losing last year in Houston, losing earlier in his career, obviously, when they blew a 24-point lead in Jacksonville against the Jaguars in 22. I get it. Herbert's never won a playoff game. I think they play this game close. Am I saying they win it outright? No. I'm saying they cover 3.5 points. Absolutely. That entire starting unit, offensively and defensively, did not have to play last week. And that makes a difference. Nobody had to play last week for the Chargers. New England was still trying to win. They still had hopes of a 1 seed. They beat the Dolphins, obviously. And Drake May has a mediocre game, obviously, for Drake May's standards. And it might be a game that ultimately costs him a playoff spot an MVP award, because the Rams continue to throw, 1-yard flat routes once they get to the goal line for Matthew Stafford to pump his touchdown numbers. It is what it is. I think the Chargers are underrated. I think they are. I know they laid an egg against the Texans. It was a horrible game for them. That just proves how good the Texans defense is. With all due respect to the Patriots, they don't have the defense Houston has. And I like what New England's doing. I don't think they beat the Chargers. I don't think they cover against the Chargers. They might win, and if they win, good on them. Next round, they'll get Jacksonville coming to them, and I would be so confident the Jaguars go to New England and win that game and get revenge, honestly, from 2017 in the postseason, right? I think the Jags would definitely go to New England and win that game, but I don't know. I'm very split on this one. I am technically, yes, taking the Patriots to win, but that's a 50-50 for me. By far, the pick here is Chargers to cover 3.5 points. If the Patriots win, it will be by a field goal. I think, again, the rest makes a big difference. Justin Herbert not playing last week. Amarion Hampton's injured, but it looks like Amarion Hampton will play, the 1-2 punch that the Chargers have in their backfield currently with Amarion Hampton, with Kamani Vidal. The receiving core is still very mid. I understand with Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, Keenan Allen, is what it is, and Orande Gadsden at the tight end position. But defensively, yes, the Chargers are very underrated. Tuli Tiapaliotu, Khalil Mack, Denzel Perriman. The linebacking core is not solid. I know, again, there's some older heads out of that bunch other than Tuli Poliotu, but still, Derwin James getting up there in age 2. Dante Jackson as well. I mean, it's not, it's not a young secondary. It's not a young linebacking core, but there's experience and they win. The Chargers went 11-6 this season, and I'm gonna pick them here. I'm gonna take the Chargers. I do believe Justin Herbert finally breaks through. Will he win the game or not? I don't know, but the game should be close. The game should be really close. I know the Chargers have struggled on the road all year long, and I've well detailed that. Going to Jacksonville, getting blown out. Going to Tennessee and barely winning by 7 points. Going to Miami and needing a game-winning drive and late-game heroics out of Justin Herbert. I know, again, they have barely come through in a lot of these spots. We just need the game to be close. I don't care how they get it done. We need it to be competitive. I know night game in Foxborough. It's going to be 8 o'clock over there on Sunday Night Football. I feel like it's a trap. I think Drake May's been great. What will Drake May be in the postseason, though? We've never seen Drake May in the playoffs. For as much losing as Justin Herbert has done in the playoffs so far, he's been there. A lot of this New England team has never sniffed the postseason. It's a lot of young players. It's some guys who were at the end of the Belichick era, on to the Gerard Mayo era, where they just didn't win football games. And now all of a sudden you have expectation. You're the number 2 seed. You're supposed to go to the AFC Championship game, and you get a Chargers team that is fully rested going into this game. The Patriots obviously are not fully rested. I'm taking the Chargers. Again, I think Los Angeles knew what they were doing. I think Jim Harbaugh knew what he was doing. Lose that game, you lock in your playoff matchup. Unless the Patriots obviously lost the Dolphins, which they weren't going to do. You knew the Patriots were playing their guys. You knew they were going to win. You basically had an extra week to prepare for New England because, you didn't want to beat the Broncos. You knew you weren't going to beat the Broncos. The Broncos are playing their guys. You locked the Broncos into the 1 seed. You locked yourselves into the 7 seed. And unless New England had lost, you put yourself against New England in the first round. You knew who you were getting. You knew the matchup that you wanted, and they absolutely got it. And you screwed the Patriots at the same time because New England was not going to play their guys, because if they had lost, they didn't want to fall to 3. They didn't want Josh Allen in the first round. They didn't want the Jaguars to jump them. I'm telling you, the Chargers knew what they were doing in this entire equation the minute they lost to Houston, and therefore eliminating them from being the number 1 seed and eliminating themselves from being the AFC West champion. They knew they were going to go into Denver, lose that football game, and get the matchup they wanted. I'm taking Justin Herbert, I'm taking Jim Harbaugh, and I'm taking the Los Angeles Chargers to cover 3.5 points. Again, do they win the game or not? I don't know. I don't care if they win the football game or not. I think they cover. If they win, then they get that next matchup against Denver. You know, I think it was Jim Nantz said it at the end of that Broncos-Chargers game on Week 18. These two teams could easily meet again in a couple weeks. Well, again, all the Chargers need to do is win. Will they do that? I don't know. I believe they will cover the points. I think the Chargers are very underrated going into this playoffs, and I understand they're still the Chargers. But give me Los Angeles to go on the road and cover the points against the Patriots. Give me plus 3.5 for the Chargers. Technically, yes, I'm taking the Patriots to win. I am not confident in that at all. My favorite play here, and the only play here, is Chargers to cover 3.5 points. On now to our final game of the first round of the playoffs. Texans go on the road to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes, I am fading the Texans again. I know. I'm fading them again. Give me Pittsburgh. I know the general public is all over Houston in this spot. I understand why. I don't know, man. Something about old man Rodgers and the way the Texans have been playing recently. I don't know. I know they're winning. And I know, you know, they held out all their starters in the second half of that Colts game because they kind of knew where the Jaguars were at, and they knew there was no pathway and no longer to the AFC South title. But man, I know the Chargers' victory on the road was phenomenal. You're making a dome team go to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to Acrisure Stadium and play an AFC North team in the cold? I don't think that goes well, man. I don't think it does. Just something about the Texans going to a cold spot. Again, a team from Houston, Texas, going to the AFC North and playing. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think the last 4 road playoff games the Texans have had. No, it might be. Yeah, no, here's the thing. Yeah. The Texans are 0-6 on the road in the playoffs in franchise history. I was making sure I got that one right. I'm pretty sure they're 0-6. Unless, did they win in 23? No, 23, no. They had Flacco went to Houston. Yeah, they've never won on the road in the playoffs. Last year, losing the Chiefs in the divisional round. 23, losing in Baltimore. 2019, losing in Kansas City in the divisional round. 2016, losing in New England where Brock Osweiler was starting for the Texans. 2012, lost in New England in the second round. Was that Bengals game? No, that Bengals game was definitely in Houston. And then prior to that, in 2011, losing in Baltimore. They've never won a road playoff game in franchise history. Oh, because obviously, yeah, the Texans have never been a wild card. This is their first wild card, I think, ever. Yeah, it is. They've always won the crappy AFC South where they get their, 1:30 playoff game on Saturday. They always get it. But now, obviously, there's something new. Something new for the Texans. We knew this game was obviously going to be on Monday night because the Steelers beat the Ravens on the Sunday night game, and they want to give those teams as much time off as possible. And it's most fair, obviously, to put them on the Monday game rather than them, obviously, having to turn around quickly on a Saturday afternoon for the primetime Texans spot or, obviously, on a Sunday game. The Texans have never won on the road in the playoffs. They've only won at NRG Stadium. You're telling me a dome team's going to walk into Pittsburgh and win? We've seen this team lose multiple times in Baltimore, and I know, again, not all those are C.J. Stroud. Well, C.J. Stroud lost in 2023 in Baltimore. Last season, C.J. Stroud lost in Kansas City. They don't win on the road. This is a dome team. It's a hot weather team in Texas. I don't expect them to beat Aaron Rodgers in a cold weather environment. 100%. No, I would highly doubt they're able to do so. And I understand Pittsburgh has been mid for a majority of the season. I'm not denying that, obviously, but are we not forgetting this team's going to get much better in the playoffs? One, postseason experience for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, there's not a single quarterback in this postseason. There's not a single player in this postseason who has more experience and more wins in the playoffs than Aaron Rodgers. He's 42, and I don't think this is the end of the career for Aaron Rodgers. I believe he's going to come back for one more year. I think the Steelers want him back. I believe Mike Tomlin wants him back. I think Rodgers is the only one on the fence, but I don't know why he wouldn't come back. I mean, for Pittsburgh, it's either you go Aaron Rodgers next year, or I believe you go to like a Joe Flacco or a Tua Tagovailoa. I think you got to go Rodgers again next season. I think the Steelers are going to do everything in their power to get Rodgers back so we can all just forget about what happened in New York, because this is what should have just happened right away, but after leaving Green Bay. But it's okay. I think we're going to get one more year of Rodgers next season. But There's not a player in this postseason who has more experience than Aaron Rodgers. And Pittsburgh, I know I was super down on them after losing the Cleveland game, but they found a way to win at home against the Ravens. Rodgers plays the best game he's played all year long, 300 yards. Obviously, the Ravens DB slips at the end of the game, opening up Calvin Austin for a wide open touchdown. But Pittsburgh, again, finds a way. And defensively, they were much better in the second half. With the exception of 2 home run plays that Lamar Jackson found Zay Flowers on, I thought that Pittsburgh defense played phenomenally well. They got him on 2 over-the-top home run trick plays twice. And Pittsburgh bit. And obviously there was 2, 70-yard or 60-plus yard touchdowns for Baltimore. The Steelers defense, though, is healthy. And you get all these guys now. I mean, TJ Watt's playing, obviously, with the punctured lung. TJ Watt's back, had an interception last week against Lamar Jackson. Offensively, too, I think this is a major factor. DK Metcalf's back. And we talk about, and Collinsworth brought this up a lot, and this is a big factor in that game. Rodgers and the Steelers get to the goal line, but who are they going to throw the ball to? I mean, at the end of that first half, where Pittsburgh obviously ended up going with that weird run play to Kenneth Gainwell, where they got him absolutely killed in the backfield as time expired from the 1-yard line. Normally, the play would be a back shoulder fade to DK Metcalf, or just a fader out in general to DK Metcalf. He's your best receiver. He's going to come down with the football. That's the guy you want to go to. But with him out, you saw the Steelers resort to Marquez Valdes-Scantling getting one-on-one balls in end zone targets. You're seeing Adam Thielen get an uptick in production. Scotty Miller, who I'm surprised is still in the league, but good for Scotty Miller, man. Super Bowl champion with the Buccaneers. But you're seeing Scotty Miller become a possession receiver for Pittsburgh when his best use is really a deep ball threat. But obviously Pittsburgh's got a better version of Scotty Miller in Calvin Austin. So it was really interesting to see what Pittsburgh, was doing without DK Metcalf and how they're working offensively. Obviously, Kenneth Gainwell, who was voted team MVP by the Pittsburgh staff and the Pittsburgh players, and that's very well deserved, I will say. Gainwell is a massive part of this team. I mean, he very active runner, obviously very involved in the passing game, and honestly, he might be their leading pass catcher other than Metcalf. That's a big factor. And I know, again, the Texans defense, I understand. They are dominant. They are great. I completely understand. Offensively, they are being held back. And Stroud has given them big plays throughout the course of the season. I know, right? Like, there have been huge conversions that we have seen C.J. Stroud go to Nico Collins for, or hell, go to, Xavier Hutchinson, or go to, Jaden Higgins has played well this year, and Dalton Schultz too. Like, we have seen huge conversions that C.J. Stroud's gotten throughout the course of the year, but there is no consistency, honestly, in the play of that offense. And running the ball, I mean, they've struggled all year long. Woody Marks is the number 1 back, but Marks gets injured in every single game that he plays. Nick Chubb was a healthy scratch for their last game. I assume that was just because of, I think that was because it was the last game of the year, but at the same time, I think Chubb just might be worked out of everything. He doesn't really run the ball anymore, even when he was healthy. So I don't even think Chubb is involved. I think the number 2 back, honestly, is Jawar Jordan, I think, because Jordan has had some massive last couple games. Obviously, Woody Marks is still the number 1 back, but yeah, I don't know what's going on in that scenario. We know, again, this is not a very injured team, and obviously they're a great defensive unit, 100%. But I do believe the Texans are going to be competitive, but I think they're going to lose the Steelers. The game's in Pittsburgh, and it's a night game. It's a night game in Pittsburgh. It's going to be freezing cold. I think Stroud's been okay, and I know that defense is phenomenal. And yes, they have gone out and they have won night games before in hostile environments. The biggest example of that is winning in Kansas City against the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football at Arrowhead. Well, the Chiefs are not in the playoffs, and the Steelers are. The Steelers are actually better than the Chiefs. The defense is slowly getting there. They struggled very early against Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in the run game. Again, though, the run game. We saw the Steelers defense play fairly well against the Lions in that pass game from Jared Goff and company until, the fourth quarter. But defensively, secondary's honestly not that bad. I know it's an old secondary. I know Jalen Ramsey's still hanging out in the secondary. I understand. It's getting better. And TJ Watt, the pass rush in general, I don't know, man. And I've been waiting for it all year long. The trick play out of the brotherly push, whatever the hell they're calling it, because both the Hayward brothers obviously do it. There's a reason Aaron Rodgers is still standing there 5 yards back, and he's not involved in the play. There is a very obvious reason for that. And they've gone to it once. There's going to be a play. I think it's going to happen this week, maybe if they need it, where Aaron Rodgers is going to get that snap. It's going to go between Hayward's legs, and Rodgers is going to catch it, and he's going to throw it to a wide open, tight end in the end zone. Frymuth will be wide open. He's going to engage in a block and boom, leak out. Rodgers just pitches a touchdown. I think it's coming, or it's a first down. I believe it's coming this week. And I will say, Rodgers has played better and better as the season has gone on. Yes, the Browns game was difficult. Maybe that was just an NFL script moment, though, right? The NFL told us, okay, hold on. We want Sunday Night Football. We want you versus Baltimore on Sunday night. And they got the best ending to the season they possibly could have gotten. And I understand they get bailed out by a Tyler Loop missed field goal. At the same time, though, if Chris Boswell hits the extra point and that field goal is just to send it into overtime. I thought the Ravens probably would have won in overtime, but whatever, who cares, right? John Harbaugh gets fired because his kicker can't make a 40-yard field goal. Shout out to Lamar Jackson, getting that ball to Isaiah Likely. Phenomenal ball. Should have been a first down. Should have won the game. Pittsburgh, though, has now won 4 of 5, winning in Baltimore, beating the Dolphins, winning in Detroit, losing at Cleveland, and then beating the Baltimore Ravens. I'm taking them to beat the Texans. The defense is great with Houston, and Rodgers may struggle some. Pittsburgh's going to play solid defense too. And the way I see this game being, I think it's going to be very low scoring in the first half, and I think Pittsburgh just finds a way late. If you don't like the money line for Pittsburgh, it is currently listed at plus 150. You can take the plus 3 as well. That, you're getting points for Pittsburgh at home. But ultimately, this comes down to, I think, a low-scoring defensive battle, and I don't think the Texans are able to win that game in the cold. I know they've been able to win games like this all year long because of how good their defense is, but you're going to Pittsburgh, postseason environment against the most experienced active player, most experienced playoff player currently active in the National Football League. I think technically Mahomes have more playoff games than Rodgers. Nah, I think it's still Rodgers. The most experienced playoff player currently in the league. I don't think the Texans can go on the road and win this one. I know they're extremely hot. This is a team that started the year 4-5. They've won all these games now to get to 12-5. I understand. I think Stroud holds them back. I think the run game holds them back. And just the offense as a whole holds the Texans back. Pittsburgh just finds a way in the second half, and they punch their ticket to the second round. Depending on what you think of the Chargers game, either they go to Jacksonville or they go to Denver next week in the second round. Give me old man Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers to win, take down the Texans, and move on to the divisional round of the playoffs. Folks, thank y'all for watching our wild card predictions here, of course, for the first round of the NFL playoffs. If you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Make sure to comment if you disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back later in the week for our best bets and best player props, and next week as well for our predictions, full predictions, for the divisional round of the playoffs. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more, and Mamba forever.